Welcome to the Being Soul Confident podcast with me, your host, Nicola Tonsaga, the podcast where we are talking all things soul, where we're widening the conversation about what soul is so that you can trust it, live it, be it, so that you are being soul confident. Hello and welcome back to Being Soul Confident. It's an absolute joy to have you with us today. And today I have the most gorgeous soul who is going to be the most incredible guest. I know we're just going to have a conversation that just bounces and just ignites. And my lovely guest is the very fabulous Karen Ramsay-Smith. And Karen is a soul legacy mentor, intuitive guide and energetic guide. And without further ado, welcome Karen. It's great to have you here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Nicola. I'm really pleased to be here.
Can I ask you to just introduce a little bit about yourself, who you are and what you do, and a little bit about your journey as well, Karen?
Yeah, sure. So what would you call me? All the hats. I think what I like to feel about what I do, and who I am is to help people rebirth their soul into their lives. And I do that through coaching, mentoring, holding space for other people. And yeah, my journey, what's brought me to this point in my own life is, I think, just losing my sense of my soul, losing touch with my soul, um, and regaining that through a path of difficulty, pain, suffering, um, deeper truth, acknowledgement, acceptance, this amazing journey that we all go on in life. And I think in earnest, my journey started at the end of 2016 when I was in a job, 26 years, marketing and comms. I ended up as a marketing and comms director, and I was in charge of, lots of money and all these huge marketing campaigns, and just felt like I was living a soulless life, not just in my career, but in my relationships, in my connections, felt soulless. And, for me, it came through a particularly challenging time that my soul spoke to me very clearly one day and said to me, "You're not going to be here in a year's time." And as in, not in my career. And it was a voice so clear and so different to all the other voices in my head that I did listen to that, and I did have that almost as an intention that was set that day, when I was staring outside of my office window and realizing that I was yet again at work until 6:30, 7 o'clock, been in meetings since 8 o'clock in the morning. I was working 60 hours a week, so I was working at home as well. And that started me off on a deeper journey, excuse me, to everything's began to unravel really from that point, not just my career, not just realizing that I didn't feel fulfilled in the work I was doing, but also then in my relationships, in my family, in the connections that I had with other people. And yeah, that tower moment, I think, is what's brought me here in a nutshell.
Yeah. And I think that I think lots of people can associate with that tower moment, because sometimes when we're in that space where nothing is really aligned, it's not just one thing that isn't aligned, it's everything else. So when you start to shift one thing, it has that domino effect on everything else, doesn't it? And suddenly that row of dominoes, everything just collapses, and suddenly you're in this space where you're standing in what appears to be kind of the chaos of life, really, and what is the way forward.
Yeah, and I think that, we can all relate to that overwhelming moment, where the realization that we don't feel connected, we don't feel fulfilled, or we don't feel like we're in touch with our soul. And like you say, it's almost that moment that opens the can of worms, isn't it? And then we have that choice to continue going back to that more resistant sort of roller coaster life, where we're in that mode of resistance. We're not slowing down, we're just
Hmm.
keeping going, we're in survival mode. Or we can, begin to say yes to that deeper truth. And for me, that initial saying yes and learning to come back to myself more, then unfolded in many other moments of
Mm.
realizing that I was here to have a more challenging life, actually, to be able to come back to my own soul and lead other people back to theirs. And I had several very challenging experiences in my life after that. I'd already lost my dad to a malignant brain tumor a few years before that sort of tower moment. And then I went on to, after starting my own business, having this huge realization I wanted to do something fulfilling, to then um, almost losing it all again, losing myself again through toxic relationships. I then lost my partner to suicide, and I lost my mum to a brain tumor in the same year. And the challenging moments just seemed to keep coming. And yeah, the moments then were moments of awareness, moments of realization, moments of um, being able to be more after that initial tower moment, slowing down. I spent a lot of time in nature over those years, and I studied mindfulness. And as the challenges came then, there were moments, as I said, of a more expansive awareness. Rather than
Yeah.
being stuck in the challenge itself, I had the ability to be able to move above the challenge and almost observe myself going through this situation, um, being in the experience, but also being above and
Mm.
outside of the experience as well. And yeah, life became very deep. And, going through those darker times myself has hugely given me perspective on life.
Yep.
Um, the perception that we can easily go into that life, there are things in life that are more important than our soul. We can easily go into that perception, you know, to be in that survival mode, to create those layers on top of what's really, really important to us.
Yeah.
The simple things in life, the preciousness of life, being simple in joy, the word enjoy, the wonder of life, the magic of life. And these things we can only touch if we are willing to slow down and be in that deeper moment, be present. And I know you talk about this stuff a lot as well as me, so I know
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, that's it really in a nutshell for me, is the awareness that comes through the challenge and, possible traumas that people have been through.
It's a very it's a very it's simple to say it now, isn't it? In terms of that ability to be in the challenge, but also to be witnessing it.
Mm.
But for people on that path where maybe life is changing very rapidly, and as everything starts to break down, as all the conditioning and all of the structures start to break down, because you're kind of living more into your truth, and you're living more into that energy of soul. how how did you cultivate the ability, I suppose, to really recognize that you're in a challenge, but also to allow yourself to hold a different perspective, because sometimes it's really difficult to have a different perspective when you're going through some really significant and really deep and deeply emotive experiences within life, isn't it?
It is. It is. And what I would say is that prior to having some of those difficult, traumatic moments in my life, periods of time, I have always had a practice, a way of being present with what is.
Mm-hmm.
And that presence with what is has brought me a lot of gratitude and a lot of appreciation for life. And when
Yeah.
I say life, I mean the simple things, being able to breathe, being able to, sit in my garden, walk in nature, be quiet in nature, be still, listen, use my senses. Um, and to be able to take that presence into the challenges as much as I could. Um, and that allowed me to tap into something deeper in that moment of challenge and of trauma, to know that even though this was happening, underneath that chaos, darkness, the stories, everything that was going on, even the reality of the pain and suffering, I knew that this was happening for a realization of myself. And I still had that grasp on the preciousness
Mm.
of life. And that for me was the light that stayed within me in those really, really difficult moments.
And I suppose there's an aspect maybe within that where we can ask ourselves, people listening or watching can ask themselves if they're going through something significant. I suppose actually maybe a question to ask is, how do we actually keep our light lit when actually life is really challenging, rather than allowing life to dim that or extinguish it?
Well, I believe that your light never goes out,
Mm.
the light of your soul.
Absolutely, but it can be
Well,
overlaid, can't it, by
exactly.
all of our stuff.
So one analogy that I really love, which my own mindfulness teacher shared with me, is that when we're children, we're given this beautiful, ripe, juicy strawberry, and we're like, oh my God. And we bite into this strawberry and it tastes amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the most delicious, juicy, vibrant strawberry that you've ever experienced, tasted, used in your senses. But as we get older, we place these films of plastic and cling film or whatever you might think on top of that strawberry. And one by one, even though they're the tiny thin layers, those layers build up. And one day when we experience something, we want to go back into biting that strawberry, and we bite into it, and guess what? We can't taste it anymore because we've created all these layers on top. And what are the layers? They're the limiting beliefs about ourselves. They're the stories that we created that are on top of the things that we've experienced. Yes, there's suffering in life. Yes, that strawberry may, you know, go into change and evolve into different things over time. But the essence of the strawberry is still there. We
Mm-hmm.
just create these, what we call in mindfulness is this two daggers. The first dagger is the pain and suffering that we experience, and the second dagger is the one that we create, that we keep doing to ourselves.
Yeah.
So these layers get built up over time, and it's no wonder we can't taste that beauty
Mm.
and wonder of life. And then we wonder why we don't feel connected with our soul anymore. We don't feel, that's there's some kind of disconnect there. But underneath that is this still this beautiful strawberry. It's still there. And this is what I
Yeah.
mean about the light is always there. It's always ignited within you. We just need to get back to spend time with the embers, and to reignite the flame if that's what we need at that time, and take those layers away so we can see the wonder and the beauty and the magic of life. And one of the best ways I find to do that is to be in nature,
Mm.
part of us, part of everything, part of the universe. We are it. It is us.
Mm. I would absolutely agree. I think nature is such a healer and such a connector. And I'm sure you've probably had similar experiences to me where you're walking through nature and you can feel the energy of the trees around you. You can feel the energy of the ground that you're walking upon. It's a tangible experience that is part of you. But you're also experiencing it, and there's a flow of communication, there's a flow of feeling, there's a flow of experience that's absolutely alive and vibrant in that moment.
Exactly. And if we just think about the elements are something that I work with a lot with my um, people who I love to support, my clients. The elements, if you take water, these water, fire is transformational, water is healing. These are not, the breath is healing.
Mm.
These are not, and life-giving, and these are not woo-woo things. They're not just spiritual things, they're scientific
Mm.
things. There's scientific research to prove that working with the elements can reconnect us.
And it's what the ancients did, isn't it? I
Exactly.
mean, all back through history, we know that our ancestors and different cultures used all of the elements as life-giving, life-initiating forces, and also really use them for healing and to move through different stages of life into different stages of being. And so I guess it's about bringing that legacy, isn't it, from the past forward and enabling it to actually be part of our present and to carry it into the future so that we're actually creating that legacy for the people that are also coming into this deeper awareness and also coming into this world.
Well, yeah, we are reconnecting with our ancestors
Mm.
who have gone before us. Exactly that. These are primal ways, but they're also intelligent, wise ways that we have forgotten, but we are beginning to re-understand them and remember them, remembering very important through the body.
Mhm.
With our practices, with moving back into more natural cycles and the understanding of the importance that has on our not only our health and well-being, but our energetic system, and being able to be in alignment with that unique energetic system that we all have. I love to work with numerology and human design as a modality to help people to come back into understanding and gathering, gaining, and harnessing the wisdom of their own cycles, which match amazingly the cycles of nature. When we work with our own energetic cycle in conjunction with nature, are the moon cycles, the sun
Mm.
cycles, everything that is in flow, and we know our own energetic system. Each of us is born in to this lifetime with a soul. I think you talk about it as the soul blueprint, don't you?
Yeah.
It's, yeah, that soul blueprint, that knowing of and understanding the wisdom from your own soul's energetics and working with that, not resisting it, not seeing the shadow side of you as your weakness, but actually seeing it as an amazing opportunity to understand what you're here and what you're born to do in this lifetime. It's empowering, and it's a million miles away from the conditioning that we have been born into.
And it is very liberating, I think, when you reconnect into yourself on that level. And it's really interesting as you're talking about kind of connecting with the elements and with nature, because actually, if we look at it, humans are the only species on the planet that are not in a natural state of flow most of the time. Nature's in a natural state and it flows. The planets, the sun, the moon, they all are in their natural flow. Animals are in their natural flow when they have the freedom to be so. And we are actually the only species that puts layer upon layer upon layer upon layer upon layer of stories and conditioning and limitations. We're the only species that does that. It's really
And yet
incredible, isn't it?
soul is in everything.
Yeah, totally.
And that animals are incredible guides
Mm,
for us in our lives. They're incredible light bearers for us to help us to show us the way,
mm,
help us to show the ways and being that is reflected
mm,
back to us from a particular animal. You
yeah.
know, it's not coincidence. It's not just a spiritual woo-woo thing about when you see an animal, a sign with an animal over and over again, you see a feather that has been left for you. And the numbers also,
Mm.
numerology in nature also can give us incredible gifts.
And like I guess it's that aspect of allowing ourselves to be aware and actually pay attention to what we notice, because it's really easy to go through life with tunnel vision, but actually the guidance and the support and the synchronicity is all there if we actually pay attention to what we notice, if we pay attention to the numbers that keep repeating, if we pay attention to the feather that just happens to be in that place just as we're looking, if we happen to notice that there's an animal that keeps showing up for us, and if we actually notice that and pay attention and consider and are curious about what it might mean, as opposed to dismissing it as irrelevant.
Yeah, I mean, everything, as we know, most people know and accept now that everything is connected and there
Mm,
aren't really any disconnections. That's a scientific fact. It's not anything else. So with everything being connected, all we're doing here is expanding our own consciousness through presence.
mm.
And when
And
we
through being
expand our
present.
consciousness, we expand and reconnect, or realize that the connections were already there, I should say, with everything that we are,
Mm,
everything that we can ever be. And we're opening the door to an energetic portal every time we allow ourselves to be in that state of presence, and not to try and force a connection, but
but just
instead to
allow it.
receive it.
Mm. And just allow it to be part of who we are, actually, to be open and expansive to that, actually. What is
Absolutely.
what is soul to you, Karen?
I think soul to me is an energy. It's a frequency that we are here to explore. And without sort of trying to put too many meanings on it, I think this is the problem with the human mind, is that we try and create
Absolutely.
meanings out of everything. If we can just allow ourselves to tap into the frequency of soul, not even necessarily our own soul. Yes, it's amazing to understand your own soul, but what soul is, it's an energy, it's a frequency, it's something that flows through all of life.
Mm,
The soul is in everything, but it's an energy, it's a frequency that we obviously, many, many moments of our lives we spend that we're not aware of that frequency. And that's not to say it's not there, it's there all the time. It's just that we're so caught up in this thing and thinking about the next moment
mhm.
that we miss soul.
Absolutely. And I guess it's that aspect similar to what you were discussing earlier when you were talking about being in your corporate job, and you were talking about that kind of just being soulless, because actually the focus and the ability to be within that deeper connection, that deeper present moment awareness within yourself and with all of life simply wasn't there at that point in time in the way that it is now.
Yeah. And, pressures of life and pressures of trying to fit in.
Mm.
And actually, one of the biggest realizations is that that I don't want to fit in now.
Mm.
Whereas before, I thought I had to fit in.
Yeah, and none of us are made to fit in. I really I believe that we are all these uniquely shaped jigsaw pieces that fit into the whole puzzle. And your unique little bit has inny bits and outy bits that are different to mine, that are different to anyone else's. So actually, we're not designed to fit in. We're designed to be the individuality, unique being that we are, that nevertheless forms part of the whole of everything.
Yeah, and I think that's, we're still very much on that journey, aren't we,
Mm.
as a collective, to truly appreciate each other's uniqueness, to truly appreciate the preciousness of each other's soul,
Mm.
what we're here to do for each other.
And also, I think, and I don't know about you, but also to recognize that the way that one person works and brings that awareness to someone is no better than the way that someone else works. But we all have ways of connecting, and we all have ways of enabling other people to recognize their connection. And so we all form part of that uniqueness and that unique whole, but there are always different strands and different ways and different ways that we resonate and that other people resonate with us.
Yeah, absolutely. And every single one of us has such a beautiful but powerful, unique gift to
Mm.
bring into the world. And the boxes, I think, that we have been conditioned to think are there are now falling away. And I think we're opening now to this greater potential of seeing each other for the unique gifts that we're here to bring. And doesn't the world need it? The world needs this
100%.
connection, this seeing each other through community, through helping each other in that more energetic way, in that more energetic space. Um, and for those of us that understand what we're talking about, sometimes we do need that person as a guide, or a person to walk alongside us
Mm.
and hold us in a non-judgmental way
Absolutely.
without our own ideas about what that gift is or what that soul is here to do, but actually let the energy speak and get underneath that every day, get underneath that layers of plastic of that strawberry, and allow, hold space for that person to touch the wonder of life again.
Mm.
Because for me, that's when that gift is reawakened.
Absolutely. And it's just as you were saying that, it's that ability to hold space for that person to also connect into that wonder of themselves, isn't it? Um,
It's,
and I know empowerment is a word that's used a lot at the moment, but real empowerment is when we hold space for somebody to actually recognize and connect with themselves in their own unique way, rather than saying, this is the way you must do it, and this is how I do it, therefore, this is the way that you must do it. Because actually, that doesn't empower someone with the connection with themselves and the tools that they need to support that for themselves.
yeah, and I think some people are happy with that, being mentored in a certain way. Um, but I think if we want to go deep and we want to really touch what's really magic and special and unique about ourselves, we do need those spaces. It's one of the reasons why I became a coaching supervisor, which sounds a bit, it's a bit very much a hat and a label. But the space that I was called to create there, particularly for coaches who wanted to be really recognized for their own unique gift, was to do exactly that, was to give space to their soul to come forward and be in a total space of openness where something could be reborn within them without all those hats of a coach, without the label, without the I need to be this, I need to be that, I need to do it their way, I need to fit into my business, my coaching practice in a certain way, and instead allow that deeper mission, soul's mission, to be seen and heard and acknowledged, in the vulnerability
Absolutely.
of it
And
all.
how do you recognize when soul is speaking through you and soul is moving through you?
Oh,
How,
I just feel,
it sounds
I
like a silly
feel it.
question, but actually
Yeah,
it's not for people that are listening or watching.
I feel it. I mean, I'm led by my sacral. So
So that's a human design, yeah?
human design, yeah, I'm led by my sacral. And so for me, it's a feeling, it's a yes, it's a this is it. It's a to put it into words, my fire is ignited
Hmm.
and I feel that passion running through me. And I recognize that in another. Um, and I have my gift is that I can, because of my own experiences and practice, I can hold that really present space and do a lot of deep listening to allow the soul to be reconnected and speak in
Hmm.
that way. And for me, it's through the body, it is a bodily thing. It's not oh, I know my soul's speaking. It's like,
I would
it,
agree. Yeah, I would agree. It's absolutely through the body, and I believe that soul as we have it within our physical experience, our physical being, is actually housed within the body, just in that lower abdomen area. So I'm with you on that. I think, when we think about a connection to soul and we think about that flow of energy through us that comes from soul, it's never a mental thing. It's always a flow through the actual body, and it's just how we individually recognize that and are able to understand it and trust it for ourselves.
yeah. And it's the layers, like I said, removing the layers. And a lot of these layers are illusions.
Mm,
They are illusions because they're not, if we take the simple um understanding of presence, that when we take everything away and we're holding space for somebody like you and I do, that space is sacred. And it's a space where of what is allowed to be
yeah.
without expectation, without um, placing rules on top.
And it is a really beautiful space, and it's interesting, I think, for anyone watching or listening as well, the ability to hold space for ourselves as well. And I know lots of people, and I'm sure you do too, Karen, that will sit with meditation, or they will sit with a visualization, or with a specific aim in mind, or there's some music that is playing. But actually, the ability to create a practice where you are just sitting in the fullness of your own energy with no expectation. You're not seeking guidance, but you're just allowing yourself to sit in your full energy and your full presence. and just allow that space to be, and allow yourself in that space to be whatever you are, whatever that space is in that moment. If we could, if we could individually all cultivate that,
Mm.
there's a really incredible connection to self that happens in that space, and also an incredible connection to our consciousness beyond ourself in that space.
100%. I love what you said there. For what I have learned on my journey, and I've been practicing mindfulness now for 15 years. When I began to teach mindfulness, I realized that that was actually quite difficult for people to just sit in silence. And
Mm,
it's not easy for everyone, especially those of us that have been through trauma, to sit with yourself and sit with your deeper, your darker emotions is not easy. But that is what led me back to nature. And now I find silence so much easier because of my connection with nature, because nature, I can touch the ground, I can use my senses and I can allow the elements to hold me, whether that
mm,
be water, whether I'm walking across hot coals because I'm a fire walking instructor now, or whether I'm, you know, breaking an arrow with my throat and I'm using my breath to help me to be present with that, or whether I'm just practicing calm, deep breathing, and I'm outside by my lake up the road and just sitting and being quiet and allowing that air to move through me. Nature helped me to process all
yeah.
of that. It helped me to allow that energy to move through me rather than just sitting in silence, and going, right, I've got to sit and I've got to just be with whatever's here. Oh my God, this is awful.
Mm. But
Actually,
it's
the
interesting.
movement and
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because sometimes when we're in that space of stillness within ourselves, actually it isn't still. There
mm,
is there is a movement, there is a flow, and there is a movement of energy, and sometimes there's a movement of emotions as well. But yeah,
it's so true. And I think that is the key, is that when we're tapping into soul, it is a movement, it is a resonance, it is nature, it is ever evolving. That's the Buddhist teaching
mm,
that we teach in mindfulness, is that impermanence.
yeah.
Everything is ever flowing, ever moving. We never really expire.
And if you, and actually if you think about soul from a frequency perspective, which is what you touched upon, energy is always in motion. It's never stagnant, it's never still. So when you connect into that energy of soul, whether you're connecting into that energy all around us, or whether it is that connection into a more personal aspect or understanding of it, there is always a movement of some sorts, because actually energy always is always in motion. Frequency is always moving.
Yeah. And sound is resonance, sound is frequency. I mean, pretty
Mm,
much sound is everything.
mm,
And you can tap into sound through the elements. You
yeah.
can sit and listen to a fire crackling. It's incredibly transformational. You can sit next to a stream. You can ask the stream to take those emotions and help you to release them. You can use your breath to help the energy to move through you. All of these things, the earth, put your feet on the ground and
So
feel the earth.
so what I'm hearing as you talk, and actually what I'm hearing as you've shared throughout the episode, is actually that we're actually never alone, because there is that connected, and that connection support that we have with nature, that if we allow ourselves to be in that split, in that place, is always present, is always supportive, and shows us that we're always being held if we just allow ourselves to.
And just through noticing, I mean, you don't have to be a crazy lady like me and talk to the birds and the plants and the hawthorn and everything, which is what I do on a daily basis.
We're both crazy
You know,
then.
but touching a plant as you pass it, something that you feel you
Mm,
would like to just see, oh, how does that feel? Or, sitting next to the water and just noticing the ripples on the water as a duck swims by, taking a couple of petals of a flower, holding it as you walk. Seeds of the hawthorn will be here during the end of the summer. You can take some hawthorn seeds, setting up a little nature altar in your home at the different, honoring the different seasons of the year and setting your intentions in alignment with those seasons.
mm,
These simple practices may seem simple, may seem, we've been told are maybe not the done way, or these things are just old rituals, but they're not. They're really powerful ways of getting in touch with that soul resonance,
mm,
that frequency within you. Just notice what you're drawn to and
mm.
allow that to become part of your practice.
But it's like grounded connection, isn't it? Because I know when I first kind of was working with a spiritual focus in mind, which was probably about kind of 25 years ago now, there was a real focus on opening up and expanding. So there was a real focus on opening the upper chakras, opening the crown, and really allowing your energy to expand through that. And there's a real connection that I'm aware of personally now, but also, as you and as other people speak that really work in a very connected but also very grounded way of really enabling everything to be really grounded and present through us. Because with the greatest respect to everyone, when everything's up here in the ether, we don't do anything about it, we can't do anything with it, so we have to bring it in, we have to bring it through, and we have to really connect to it in a very grounded way as well, and really anchor it within us, but also within our life, within our space, within our practice.
Yeah, it's absolutely the way that I work. I do a lot of work on the lower chakras with my clients,
Mm.
because a lot of the clients that I work with have actually got a lot of open chakras.
Yeah.
And so they need a guide like me to help them to stay connected with the grounded energy through their earth star, allowing them to receive from a place of grounded energy, as opposed to I'm constantly open and I'm constantly receiving gazillions of messages. And I feel overwhelmed. I feel like my energy is scattered. My work is to help people to come back to that focus of the soul's mission and not get carried away, not get overwhelmed, but allowing your energy to be focused and energetically rooted
Mm.
in the earth. And yeah, uh, uh, that sort of overwhelm and over stimulation, as the spirituality has grown and expanded and evolved, in particularly in the personal development industry, we really need to hold those grounded, safe,
Absolutely.
present spaces, um, to support the soul
Mm.
to be held.
Absolutely. And also to support bringing into being both the fullness of who we are, because I believe that, we're really here to allow a fuller expression of soul through the human experience. And we don't do that. We don't do that by living up here. We do it by being really embodied, which means being really anchored, which means being really grounded and rooted in who we are. And then allowing everything to root, to ground, to manifest, for want of a better word, through us in that way.
Yeah, because there's so much light coming in now,
Mm,
because more and more souls are waking up. We're expanding our consciousness. Things are becoming more open. Things are becoming more almost obvious that we need to be, working together, working in community, bringing our light forward, being seen, being heard. That, there are a lot of people that are incredibly powerful through the higher chakras, but also needing that support, the
mm,
grounded support, the safety, the safety and security of allowing yourself to be rooted, without fear.
mm.
because fear is extremely close to joy, as we know. When we're open, and we can also get a lot of fear coming in at the
Mhm.
same time. So if we can be rooted and grounded, we are receiving in a way that balances our energetic system and harmonizes all of those energies, to allow things to unfold in a way that our human self, our 3D self, can work with in a way that feels good.
Yeah. And I think that's so important because, that we do live in a physical experience. And as much as there's an advancement in energy and there's an advancement in consciousness, all of that has to be processed and filtered through the actual physical body and the physical experience that we're actually in. And if it isn't, then we place ourselves in a position where there isn't the balance, and there isn't the energetic intelligence actually to understand the experience that we're really being asked to live into.
Yeah, and I think also I think we just need to also have a human life.
Mm,
um
100%.
we also need to, as well as knowing that we have this soul mission and we have a legacy that we'd like to leave behind, we are also human beings, and we are here to enjoy, going back to the word that we used right at the beginning, to enjoy our lives.
Mm,
And I believe that nature is calling us, at the same time our soul is calling to nature, and we're coming together much more now with this joint mission, I guess, with the universe, to
mm,
create that more balanced way of living, to create that more um the energetic space and environment that we need inside ourselves,
mm.
to be able to find those more joyful moments and
Yeah,
create what we want to create in this earth, in this new earth, in a way that feels good,
yeah,
and is not constantly putting our heads against trying to create more or change, trying to create this transformational change. Actually, no, it will happen if we come back to ourselves.
absolutely. And if we're in that place of harmony with the space around us, with the nature around us, and allowing that harmony within that space within us as well. Karen, it's been a joy to talk to you. If there was something that you wanted to leave the listeners and the watchers with, what would it be?
Um, I think that I just would leave my love here. And if, you haven't got somebody who loves and accepts you unconditionally in your life, then that's the energy that I'm leaving you with today. That's it.
Oh, I feel emotional there. And I'm actually going to say that I think that that is, no, I don't think I know that that is the most beautiful, really is the most beautiful thing that anyone has left um, our audience with. So thank you very much. Um, Thank you for being so beautifully, beautifully you.
Thank you, Nicole.
Um, so I really am a little bit lost for words. The emotion is coming through with what Karen left us with. So it's been, and I'm sure you will enjoy. It's been an absolute delight to have Karen on the podcast. All of her details will be in the show notes. I hope you have a gorgeous few days, whatever you are doing, wherever you are doing it, and of course, stay being soul confident.